Hello, everybody. My name is Pawel. I'm Senior Customer Success Engineer here at Sumo. I'm talking to you from Poland in Europe. This will be one of our CS Brown Bag sessions. I will be focusing on observability solution with the overall subject of getting control of your application. So starting on with our values of Sumo Logic. So we like to think about ourselves as working always in the same team, being in the corner with our customers and bringing light to the dark. With those two values, this is resulting in one of the effects that we value very much. And this is as simple as fix stuff faster. So with having that in mind, let's move to agenda for this meeting. So we will start with a bit of the problem statement, move to how we want to answer. We will talk about intro to metrics. If any of you have been on one of those meetings before, I was doing one a couple weeks ago in observability world regarding the AWS observability. So this time we'll touch about metrics a bit more. We'll do some metrics and monitoring demo. We'll touch about AWS observability to kind of revisit and make sure that you know that it's there and what capabilities it's giving you. And at the end, you'll be having some resources that are available for you on our webpage. In case you have any questions throughout the session, feel free to ask them in the Q&A panel, and we'll address them at the end of the session. So first, the problem. And the problem is applications are complicated. Troubleshooting microservices is complex and often feels like murder mystery because of the nature of distributed systems. A single issue in one microservice can have a cascading effect on the entire system, making it difficult to pinpoint the root cause of the problem. With multiple microservices, each with its own logs, metrics, and dependencies, it can be challenging to trace the flow of data and isolate the problematic service. The dynamic nature of the microservices, where instances can be added or removed at any time, further complicates the troubleshooting process. All these factors make it feel like detective work to solve the issue. Distributed systems are changing the landscape of effectively monitoring, troubleshooting, and securing your application. Sumo Logic AWS Observability and Root Cause Explorer solutions break down those data silos and help you drastically reduce the time it takes to identify and troubleshoot issues with your application by giving you a topological understanding of your environment across multiple accounts and regions. It is Sumo Logic attempts to revolutionize the way we control and understand the environment. By providing clarity and enabling you to find the root cause of complex issues, Sumo Logic empowers entire organizations to make data-driven decisions. With our advanced analytics and real-time monitoring, it brings visibility and control to every aspect of your operations. It can be a game changer for business that is seeking actionable insights. Sumo Logic is paving the way for a more efficient and proactive team actions. So moving on to our metrics part of the observability solution. First question is, what are metrics? So metrics are quantitative measurements that provide valuable insights into the performance and behavior of a system or an application. They capture various aspects such as response time, throughput, error rates, resource utilization, and much more. Application monitoring relies heavily on those metrics to understand the health, efficiency, and user experience of the software, and they are pretty much our gateway to having a control over entire application. They can be used for such things as performance utilization. Metrics identify bottlenecks and inefficiencies, enabling code, query, and network optimization for better performance. Problem detection and root cause analysis For real-time monitoring, metrics detects abnormalities, facilitating quick troubleshooting and root cause analysis. It can be useful for capacity planning and scaling because metrics tracks resource utilization and can help you forecast the needs if you are having some Olympics events. Metrics will help you with SLI compliance. Metrics measure availability, uptime, and response time that can ensure adherence to the service level agreements. User experience monitoring with the metrics like page load time and error rates that can gauge user experience, optimizing the usability. And at the end, metrics can drive your data-driven decisions because they provide objective data for informed resource allocation, feature prioritization, and infrastructure investments. Metrics are crucial for application monitoring as they enable performance optimization, problem detection, and capacity planning, SLA compliance, user experience monitoring, and much more. By leveraging metrics effectively, organizations can ensure their application operates smoothly, meet the required expectations, and deliver superior user experience. Sumo logic, alert, metrics, and log flow empowers application administrator to control their system. The alert feature of the Sumo logic provides customizable and intelligent alerting capabilities. Administration can define thresholds and conditions based on metrics and logs, allowing them to stay informed about the critical events in real time. With proactive alert notifications, they can swiftly address potential problems before they can impact end users, reducing downtime and minimizing the risk of service disruptions. Metrics play a crucial role in understanding the performance and efficiency of applications. With our metrics flow, it provides you powerful analytics and visualization capabilities, enabling administrators to gain deep insight into the key performance indicators. By monitoring metrics such as response time, throughput, and resource utilization, administrators can optimize application performance, identify bottlenecks, and make data-driven decisions for capacity planning and scaling. In addition to metrics, Sumo Logic's logs flow centralize log management and analysis. It collects, indexes, and correlates log data from various sources, creating a unified and searchable repository. This enables administrators to quickly search and analyze logs, trace application behavior, and pinpoint the root cause of an issue. With comprehensive logs visibility, administrators can troubleshoot performance efficiently, improve the system reliability, and ensure compliance with the regulatory requirements. Today, I'm going to walk you through the demo, which will show you mostly the metrics, but also some of the features that this unified solution with alerting and logging can allow you to do. So let me take down the presentation and let's start with the empty sheet. So in order to create a metrics query, it's as simple as if you are already ingesting metrics, obviously, going to click on new and then metrics. With that, you open the empty sheet of the metrics explorer. Now, from this mode, you can choose what kind of metrics you want to display. And you have list in here, you have a alphabetized list of all the metrics that you are ingesting in your system. But for this demo, let's focus on the 500 errors. By default, it asks you for the filter because there will be a lot of metrics that you are ingesting. For this session, let's use the collector. And it's already giving you a tip equals. And I want to see them from all the collectors, not only from the specific one. So I'll just put a star in here at the end. Pressing enter in here will result if in the very nightmarish picture of all the metrics for all the collectors and all the time series that are happening. So to make sense of them, obviously we need to add some operators. But before that, let's go and see what the time series are looking like. Basically, the time series is a metric that we are ingesting. It have a different dimensions, source name. You can see the different accounts. You can see the account IDs and API names that are. Those dimensions will be different for every single metrics that you are ingesting. Mostly, if there's the same type of metrics, for example, CPU utilization, most of them will be very similar, but they can be some differences, depends on what kind of the tool you're using to collect the metrics, or if you have any custom metrics that you are adding to your solution. Now, this is a basic query that we can do to the metric, and we can add the operators to it. Let's click on this. Let's say we want to see an average by no collector, but account was actually in this scenario. Account is referring to our environment. If we now click enter, we can see much clearer view regarding what our topology is. If we go and click on time series now, we'll see the number of the different time series went very much down from hundreds to just 4, because right now we are just using average by account name. You can see all the values in here. I don't have to use average. I can use the sum operator. This will sum for me all the metrics for different account. Let's see how it works. So here, change to maximum. Actually, to sum. And just press enter again. And if we see the graph, you can see the values are drastically different from what we had before. This view in here, this seems very basic, and indeed it is called the basic mode of creating a metrics queries. Now, if you are an advanced user, it will be faster and more efficient for you to switch to advanced mode. In here, you will see basically the same, but in different format. So the metric name will be similarly looking similarly to how the log queries are looking like in Sumo logic. In here, you can just write down whatever query do you want to make. If we go and open a new one, actually, let me touch first on another subject. The subject will be quantization, because this is one of the most important things to understand with Sumo logic metrics. Quantization is the time in which we are collecting metrics to a bucket. This quantization is one bucket that we are using to display the metrics. Let me get back in here to average. And if we want to change the quantization time, you can see right now it's 5 seconds using average. And I can specify different time of the quantize to. And now let's make it 1 minute. If I press enter, you can see the values change a bit, the graphs change a bit. And right now you can see quantization in here is 1 minute, and it's still using average. The caveat with this is that this quantization is either minimal possible value or the value we set if it will be higher than minimal one. So for example, quantization to 1 minute will be working just fine if I have it on the total of 15 minutes in the past. But if I change this for example, let me put it 7 days, when this will load, you can see in here that even though I have specified to quantize to 1 minute, the actual quantization is 1 hour, because it was set automatically, just because it was just too much data, too many data points for us to display in here. Unfortunately, this applies to how the data is built on the graph, especially if you are using the sums. Let me show you what the difference would be in here. If we use the sum operator for quantization 7 days, quantization of 1 hour, you can see the values in here goes with over 3,000. If we go back to the 15 minutes, you can see the value drastically change, and it's almost never now exceeding 140. This is happening because the bucket size changed. So basically, with the sum operator, if we quantize to 1 minute, this is the data points that were gathered in 1 minute summed. If the quantization is 1 hour, this is working with the same logic, but now the bucket time is 1 hour. So all those will be added together and displayed together for you. There is one trick that you can do. Let me get back to 7 days in here. And this trick is basically using the eval function. And now you can call the value of every single data point. If I press just enter, this is doing nothing because this is basically just saying, hey, can you bring a value of the data point? And this value we can divide by the parameter called granularity. And basically what the granularity is, it's size of this window, so size of the quantization window in milliseconds. So right now you can see when we did this operation at the end, we get the value below 1. So with number of milliseconds, we need to now multiply it to get the value that we are interested in. So for example, for 60,000. So you can see the value change and it's much more reasonable. With this way, you can control what kind of the graph, how do you want the graph to look like for you. So it will make it easier for you to monitor the specific values. Unfortunately, with this isn't working when you'll be changing the timeframes. So right now, if I get it back to 15 minutes, so quantization will get back to 1 minute. This is now far off because of this granularity and this number in here that we are using to count our results. So basically what I'm trying to say is when you are designing a graph to put in your dashboards, you need to be very mindful of the time frame that you want to use on this graph. So because then if you're using the tricks on the quantization, it may be very difficult to change it afterwards, and it might be giving you different values just because the bucket size will change. So this is important thing to remember. Let me delete that. Now let's talk a bit about alerting. So if we already have the metric query, those are our selector values. Those are our operator values, just because these ones we are choosing which metrics do we want to use and from where we want to source it. And this is basically what operations do we want to make on these metrics. It's very easy for us to just create a monitor for those metrics for some alerting. Simple as making one click. And you can see already some of the fields will be already pre-populated for you. And in here, you can see when this is where you are specifying when this alert should trigger. So for example, with this quantization at any time within 15 minutes, I want to get this alert trigger when it's over 2000. You can see this line will be very helpful for you. It's showing you immediately when the alert will get triggered. So for example, in here, it might be more sensible to go somewhere like 2100, just because it will not trigger so often. And whenever one of them is getting below, the alert should go off. The only required other thing that we need to specify is monitor name. So I will call it test and click save. And it's as simple as this. The monitor is already created, it's up and running. If we go to manage data and monitoring, if we go look for monitors, we can see the status of the monitor and it's already here. If you recall, this is exactly the query that we used to create this monitor. So we can just get back by clicking to get back to the metrics explorer. And you can see the status is right now here, but this is mostly because of the quantization. It's all green. If we go back to 7 days, you can see the values are over there. So in the alert, you also, it was by default specifying what is the time frame. Now, another thing would be working with metrics in conjunction with logs. So we have some dashboards that are there available for you out of the box. So deploying them, it's as simple as going to the app catalog and choosing the proper set of dashboards for the data set that you're using. In this lab environment, I had some of the Apaches, and they are just giving you some of the ideas, some of the examples on what data you can get and what kind of forms can your metrics have. So for example, you saw we had a metric counting 500 errors in the servers. This isn't actually a metric source. Those are get from the logs. So with the similar query, you can actually get similar results to the metrics one. But if you want to get the request per second, you can see those are the log sources. And to see where they are coming from, it's as simple as clicking go to metrics. You can see exactly what are the query that was used to get you those results. With that, let me get back to the presentation. Because I still want to touch about the AWS Observability Deployment. I went deeper into AWS Observability and how to deploy it in last month's session of the observability. So feel free to get the recording and go through it if you still have any problems with deployment of this. And it is also giving you some of the metrics and the capabilities that I was showing you today. And for the resources that are available, I strongly encourage you to visit the help sumologic.com page. It's full of the very interesting materials that are there available for you for free. And with that, I would like to thank you for your attention. And yeah, let me see if there are any questions.
If you have any questions, please feel free to unmute yourself and go ahead and ask.
Is there an additional cost or log? Does it create a copy of logs or something, or would there be any additional cost in using metrics instead of just logs?
So yes, I mean, the metrics are kind of separated thing from logs. So we are using credits to count all of them. And Sumo Logic, as per said, don't care how you spend your credits. There is a cost of ingesting the metrics as well. It's very similar to logs. So you may use, it's usual we use two of them in conjunction. Because there are some data that are just easier and, to be honest, cheaper for you to get from metrics than it would be from ingesting the full log, then parsing it and displaying the data.
And Carol, to your question there, it's included in the actual plan you have. It would just be a matter of how you're burning those credits.
Got it. Is there anywhere where we can see that?
So you'd be able to see it generally off of the data volume app and tell you what's coming in and what your credit utilization is. We do have there is a brown bag on how to actually get to that. That was about 2 weeks ago. They're up on our YouTube site if you need help with how to see that information.
Yeah, I can see it. I was just wondering about like the cost difference, or is it just apples to apples?
It's the burn rate is less for metrics, but it's a different measure. Obviously, it's data points per minute versus gigabytes of logs. I would recommend if you've got a account manager, he can walk you through the difference in costs. And I just say that because each contract's a little bit different across them. So I'd actually have to look up your contract and have that conversation though. If you want, feel free to reach out to me, Carol. It's ltorno@sumologic.com after the call, and I can get someone to set up with you and talk to you about that directly.
Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you very much, Lee. Thank you, Carol, for the question.
And Fareed, on your question, yes, the recording will be set out live after this. I'm a little bit behind on those. I've got 3 coming out in the next 24 to 48 hours.
Jordan, feel free to unmute yourself. Okay.
Yeah,
we lost Jordan. I'm not sure if this was just a raised hand or saying goodbye to all of us. I guess the presentation was very clear and there were no questions, which is something I'm very happy about.
Well, Paul, thank you very much for the great presentation today. Everybody else, thank you for joining. Couple of new just updates here. We'll be having more coming in June. You can go to the same registration site for that as well. If you missed any of the recordings, they're located both on the Sumo Logic YouTube site, as well as through the learning channel inside of the Sumo Logic console. We are now uploading them there as well. So you can find them in both those locations. Again, thank you everybody for coming today.
Thank you for your time. Have a nice day.
Bye, everybody.